And we are in Portugal, so here it's 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And let's start with this third free masterclass. And I don't know if you noticed, but this week we start posting things about communication, and we will be discussing and talking about this topic for some months. Today is the first talk that we have in the communication series, and it's about public speaking and what to consider before we start doing a presentation. Basically, it's what to consider before start doing your presentation. This is what we want to talk about and tell you. So first, for the ones that don't know you,
Know us,
don't know us, well, you can start presenting yourself.
Well,
the way.
yeah, as
I always start.
As you can always read, ladies first. As you can always read, my name is Osama, and I am a pharmacist by training. I did my studies in pharmacy school, and then I worked as a pharmacist before quitting to become a scientist. I was really into neuroscience, so I did my master's and my PhD in neuroscience, and then I did a couple of postdocs, and I became a senior scientist and a team leader in neuroscience in Australia before deciding to come back here with Katia to Portugal to open this platform, Advice for Life Scientists. So during my career as a scientist, especially during my PhD, I started noticing that I'm giving a lot of presentations, attending a lot of conferences with different flavors. So either a poster session or a talk in a conference or something like this. And I was not the person who was really very comfortable talking to like public in general or audience. And what happened is that I started really trying to get myself outside of the comfort zone because if it was optional, I was always opting out of doing a presentation. Mm-hmm. But of course, you cannot. You are working in academia, and you will always be invited to give a talk, or even within your lab, you will be doing lab meetings and stuff like that. So I wanted really to improve, and I joined a public speaking club, which is Toastmasters, and this public speaking club really helped me to improve by giving me feedback about my presentation styles and everything. And after 1 year of joining this club, I became the president for a couple of years of this club as well, and I joined a lot of science communication competitions, and I was preparing a lot for them, for these competitions, to the extent that during my PhD I was actually thinking of quitting and pursuing a career in science communication as a science communicator. I was a coach and mentor for a lot of people who had science communication competitions like Fame Lab and Science Slam and all these kind of competitions that are very famous, and my thesis in 180 seconds as well. But then I was also coaching and mentoring people who were giving TED Talks and TEDx Talks as well. So this is basically my experience with public speaking and preparing presentations. So what about you, Katia?
Well, before I start, I introduce myself, let you know that the first time that I heard about TED Talks, it was when I met Osama. So if you, basically is a 18 minutes talk where people need to explain others that are, for example, I'm working in single cell, I need to explain everyone that is not, they don't need to be a scientist, everyone, what is single cell technology. And so it needs to be short message and very simple. And the first time that I heard about it was when I met him. So if you want to know more about, you can in YouTube search Osama Khalaf and you will find these TED Talks that are really cool. No, I don't give TED Talks, okay? I gave a lot of presentations during my professional life. Since I was an undergraduate student, that I didn't have a lot of a good experience, I will talk now. Then as a master's student, as a PhD student, as a lab technician, as a postdoc, and then group leader. I really thought, to be honest, when I was young, that whenever I will be a group leader or a postdoc, I will not have afraid of giving talks, but that's not true. It improved a lot. But I'm still afraid sometimes. But anyways, about my ungraduated experience. So at the university, the professor asked us, okay, 10 groups of 4 people, you have to do a 30 minutes presentation about an animal. I don't know the animal, what it was. Anyways, we prepared our presentation, and our presentation was 40 slides, okay, with a lot of text. I'm still seeing the image, a lot of text, big images. And we were presenting, reading, literally reading. It was, I imagine, for teacher. And she told us, it's enough. You already have like 40 minutes presentation. It was only 30 minutes. Back then, I didn't understand, because it was like, no, our presentation is perfect. But now, when I look back, it's like, oh my God.
It was basically the textbook that you put in the slides.
It was. But yeah, since then I was always afraid, because the first feedback was not good, but no one explained me what I should do or what we should do back then. So yeah, since then, it's true. I'm now losing to be afraid. Normally I'm nervous, but I'm no longer afraid, what I can say afraid. And the key for me was practice, and know how to do the things. So yeah, and
it's like a muscle. The more that you are practicing, the more that gets better, right?
And this is what we will talk today, and tell you what are the questions that you need to have answers for, to be prepared and to do a good presentation. And yes, I don't know if you get nervous even when, because I consider you an expert. When you give a talk, you are nervous normally?
Of course. I mean, the first maybe 30 seconds or something when you start to talk, you are nervous, but there is this sweet spot where you are a little bit of nervousness, like a little bit of nervousness that will make you motivated much more than make you crippled and not be able to start or even face public. So whenever you receive this email, I'm sure that you already received an email like this one. Dear, for example, Osama, you are invited to present in the next conference, or you are invited to present in the next lab meeting. So yeah, this is, or if someone tells you. So this basically, the free masterclass today is mainly as a roadmap for you before really like clicking on your PowerPoint or whatever application that you are using and start compiling certain slides. You need to answer certain questions before starting anything. So this is a roadmap, the planning phase. What are the questions that you need to answer before starting really compiling data in your slides?
Yes.
And the first and foremost, first important point would be the purpose itself. So when I receive an invitation for a talk, I need to ask myself, what is the purpose? And if it's not clear from the invitation, I need really to ask the organizers, what's the purpose of this talk? Is the talk, for example, in a conference, for example, where you are sharing your data with other scientists? Or, for example, is it going to be educational? You are giving a talk in high school to make it give information for students who are really into this field of science that you are pursuing. Or, for example, is it going to be a proposal presentation for a grant that you are applying for? Or, for example, is it going to be your thesis defense? So you really need to understand what is the purpose of the presentation or the purpose of the talk that you're invited to give. This is the first question that you need to really address. And then, of course, goes hand in hand with the first question is the second question. So what's the purpose? Okay, what will be the audience? Who will be attending my presentation? Is it going to be fellow colleagues, for example, who are a little bit familiar of what I'm doing and a little bit familiar of the field, or they are going to be lay public, so people who don't have any background about what you are doing? Or it's going to be experts in the field. You are going to a congress where everyone is expert in your field. So this is very important for you to really address, because what happens is that if you prepare a presentation that are only addressing the experts in the audience, and the audience was a mixture of lay public and experts, you will end up having the majority not understanding what you were presenting, compared to only 10 or 20% of the experts who are there. So if you don't know what will be the nature of the audience who's attending your talk or presentation, it's better really to make it easier, where everyone will be able to understand, than make it difficult where only very few people will be able to understand and pursue it. And I actually learned this the ugly way. So I learned this firsthand. I'm a neuroscientist, so I was invited in a conference in Paris for neuroscience, right? And what happens is that I was talking about epigenetics and neuroepigenetics. And I was explaining everything, and after in the coffee break after my presentation, I had a lot of questions from colleagues, who were attending the conference, and this conference is mainly for neuroscientists, so fellow colleagues, right? And what happens is that and during the coffee break, the first question that they were asking, what is epigenetics in the first place? I assume that everyone working in neuroscience or in like molecular biology in general would be able to understand what's epigenetics, but apparently the majority of the audience there were having like engineering background, and because it was much more kind of computational perspective neuroscience conference, and if I knew this ahead, I would have prepared, and I give a little bit 1 minute or 30 seconds to explain these kind of basic terms that for me very easy, but then for others it's very difficult. So you really need to keep in mind what is the nature of the audience who will be attending the presentation.
Yeah, that is really crucial.
Yeah.
So the third point that you need to know or to ask is the time that you will have to do the presentation. If it will be 10 minutes or if it will be 1 hour. So if you think a 10-minute talk will be easier, wrong. Why? Because a 10-minute talk, you need a lot of time to prepare. You need to think a lot about what is the message, what are the slides that you need to prepare. You need to be concise. If it's 1 hour, you can put all the slides that you want. You have a lot of time. You will not be worried with the time. So yeah, short talks take more time to prepare. Also, one thing that I do is, imagine, let's say I have 10 minutes talk, I prepare only 8 slides. Why? Normally it's like a media of an average of 1 minute per slide. But imagine that you take more time than it is supposed explaining one slide. So it's always better to keep it a little bit shorter than the time that the people in the meeting will give to you. Also because some conferences, and this is first-hand experience, you have someone controlling the time and someone that is telling 5 minutes left, 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. And this, to me, it makes me very nervous. It's like you get a little bit nervous and stressed because you don't know the time. Or you put a timer, that I do normally just to control a little bit the time, and especially if I have someone like checking the time. Other places also, what they do is you are giving your presentation. If you pass the time, they turn off the screen. Basically, screen off.
The Oscar style, when you are giving your speech, the award-winning speech, you have like 1 minute and that's it. They cut you off.
Yes, so it's really better to prepare it for a little bit less time, and like this you always have more time for questions. So what I do normally is, I explain the basic concepts, for example, and the things that I want people to know. Imagine, for example, results. But then I don't explain in more detail because that will be the topics that people will ask about. So I rather prefer to keep more time for questions than to really my presentation. So the time is really, really important to know, okay? And then a fourth point is the venue. Where will be your talk? It will be presential, it will be online, like over Zoom, Teams. So yeah, you need to know where it will be because it's completely different if it's online. And now more and more we are returning to presential talks, and this is something that for me it's worse because online I'm not so nervous because I'm seated, people just see the top of my body, the upper part.
They don't see the pajama.
Yeah, and you can talk like
part.
with your hands. You are not standing, and you don't know how to put your body, like how to move. So yeah, online for me it's better. But now we are more and more. We are getting invitations for presential talks.
Yes.
Anyways, it's really important to know where is the place where your talk will happen. If it's online, over Zoom, so advise do the rehearsal over Zoom. Just turn on the Zoom or Google Meets, whatever platform they will be using, and rehearsal, okay, as if you are talking to an audience. Presential. So you need to know what type of place will be. It will be auditorium, it will be a normal class, like a room. How many people will be seated on the room? There will be a lot. Also really, really important, you need to ask what material they have there. Can you use PowerPoint, or you will have just a board like to write? Maybe you will. Normally no. Normally it's like
could
everyone.
be a very good surprise actually if you prepare a PowerPoint slides and then you go there and there is no beamer.
But you know what happened to me once? I went with my PowerPoint slides and the machine broke. So I had a board, a whiteboard, and I did my presentation writing, and my letter is like very small, so it was kind of, but yeah, I need to present without any slides. So it's really, really important for you to know what you will have available.
Yeah.
And also, if you are doing PowerPoint presentation, you need to know if it's, for example, auditorium, the dimensions, okay? Because you need to prepare your slides with the right dimensions. If you prepare short dimension, imagine, maybe there will be distortion, like they will be cutted. So it's really, really important to know like the features, characteristics of the venue where you are.
Well, the best thing is to go and try. But
Yes.
of course, this is a luxury. Not
Yeah.
everyone would have. Yeah.
That is also something that when I can, I do.
Yes.
Like in, for example, a meeting, I went there. There were some sessions before, so I went to the room where I was presenting. I don't know.
To get
it's
familiar.
like get familiar, and like this, it's something else that I know how it will.
Yes.
My imagination will not think about. Oh my God. How is the audience? How they are seated? Are they like in an auditorium? Are they in chairs? So it's something that helps me really. It's like something that I also control and makes me less nervous.
One less information to
Yeah.
process, right? It's not
Yes.
new anymore. So when you are there, you already imagined yourself there at the podium giving, you know the dimensions and where exactly, you can even plan where
Yeah.
exactly you will be placing yourself
It's true.
facing the audience.
And also if you have like a place to move a little bit to get, how it will be the microphone, it will be like here, it will be standing like this one. So it's like, I think the key is to try to control and to know all the information that you can have about the presentation, about everything that will happen. Like this, you are prepared, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Before you prepare these kind of questions, if you ask these questions and you exactly know the answers for these questions, this will help you in the preparation, because if you know that the venue doesn't have a beamer where you can project your presentation, then you will not prepare PowerPoint slides, right? You will do something else in the preparation to go and to give a chalk talk, for example.
Yeah. Yes. So
So
I
just
think-
to
yeah,
wrap up maybe again,
Yes.
that this is kind of the roadmap, the planning phase for giving a presentation or a talk. When you are invited, don't start by preparing the presentation right away.
No.
There are really very important questions to ask, and these important questions are basically what will be the type of audience that you are giving the presentation or your talk to, and what will be the purpose of your talk. So these are the first two questions to know. And then after that, it will be the time allotted in order to prepare accordingly, either a very short talk or a very long talk, whatever the time that will be allowed for you. And finally, the venue. Is it going to be virtual over Zoom, or is it going to be over a stage or in an auditorium? You will have a beamer to project PowerPoint slides, or what kind of materials that you will have there. So these kind of questions that are really covering everything for the planning phase before even starting and preparing your presentation.
Yeah, also concerning the venue, it's really important to know, because you need to choose your outfit. And I'm not joking. In my presentations, it's different if I know that it will be, for example, a very big conference where clinicians, big group leaders will be present. So normally I will look more formal than if it is in my institute, a talk that I will give for people that see me all the time, that I'm more confident. It can be more informal. So this is really important. And these questions that Osama mentioned are really important, and people, when they tell you are invited to do a presentation, they don't tell you. A lot of times I ask, okay, what will be my audience? Just prepare something, just you will be great. It's like, no, I need to know who is the people that in front of me, because if I start to talk about single cell and they never did single cell, they will not understand what I want to say. So yeah, just
not only
push.
this, but also the context. You need to understand the context, because imagine with me that you prepared your slides, a presentation, and at the same time you have a suit or a dress, a formal, and you go there and all of a sudden you find that this event is just a retreat where everyone is in shorts, and flip-flops. You will look really odd because you're overdressed, right? It's too much. Of course, also underdressed, or going to a congress where experts are there and you have to be dressed formal and you go in your flip-flops or in shorts, this is not really appropriate. So it's just to know the context and the audience and the purpose, the venue, the time. All these questions are very important, even more important than the preparation itself. It will make preparation easier because you have in the back of your head what will be the audience, what will be the venue, and accordingly you prepare the slides to after answering all these questions.
Yeah, but again, even if you are formal or informal, keep your style. Okay, that is the key. Keep your style. So next masterclass, what we will do is to explain to you, when we have a presentation, something to prepare, what are the things that we think about. And no, the first thing is not to start doing PowerPoint, okay, the PowerPoint slides. I will say that the PowerPoint slides is like the third thing. So the first thing is what we talk about, know the answers for all these questions, okay, and ask to the organizers about them. The second is to know what message do you want to give to your audience. This is the second, and you get a piece of paper, but we will talk more next masterclass, and you write what is your main message, and then you start kind of put the topics, and then you think about the PowerPoint slides, okay? So
basically we will be discussing the preparation. So we already discussed the planning phase and what are the questions that you need to fulfill in order to be able to start preparing, and the preparation phase, basically what are the right ingredients that you have to put, as if it's you are doing a recipe. What are the right ingredients that if you put, you will really increase the chances of having a very nice presentation and very effective one as well. So we have here one question.
Yes. From the Instagram, okay. So we can start now with the questions, answering. So Mima. So Mima says that she usually also save a PDF of her presentation in case the PowerPoint doesn't work. This is a great advice.
Good tip.
It's
true. Very good tip.
It's very good advice.
Either a PDF or you have another copy on a flash drive, for example.
If your computer breaks.
The organizers actually ask you to send the presentation, and sometimes there is something going wrong. So either you can print it as a printout or have it on a flash drive or even Google Drive. This is very important tip. This will be basically part of how to be well prepared after really preparing your presentation, the rehearsal phase, and to be ready for any kind of bad situation or unexpected situation.
They happen a lot.
They happen a lot. Mic cutting off or light switching off or something happens. You need to improvise. So you always need to keep this in your mind.
So are there more questions? Something else? Let's check in YouTube. We are in Instagram also. Let's see. Let me just.
So
What will happen here? Okay. You should go here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So if you don't have any other questions, you can actually ask and shout out, send us an email, and we will be happy. We have also a Twitter account, we have Instagram, if you are tuning in from Instagram as well. And stay tuned for our next masterclass next week for the preparation phase and what are the right ingredients for a very effective presentation. Okay?
Yes. Okay. So see you next week and see you around. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for attending.